All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you paying attention. That's great. If you guys didn't know, I was up late last night at EDC. Why did everyone laugh?
It was over Sunday night.
That's right. I was there late. Did anyone in the audience at all go?
Yeah.
Oh, one person. Well, hey, listen, if you guys noticed, what a huge chunk of money and crazy people that brought to our community, but it's fun to watch, right? Okay, a couple of things. So as you guys are going to notice, Beta has the meeting up here behind us because it's a little bit of a delay. I want you to make sure you hear everything I say. But the reason being is that the chat that was going on, last week I wasn't able to attend the meeting. Brandon told me I couldn't. And so I was in the chat making comments, and I realized that no one in the audience could see any of the comments that was going on. So we're going to put it up there so that you guys can see it and we can all interact together. So that's kind of cool. We're going to start off real quick with wants and needs. Who has a new listing that they needs to sell? Anybody? Patty. Thank God I brought my mother.
2213 White Mist in Summerlin. It's 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a pool for $505.
$505. Median price $475. You're just about the average. Anyone else? Any new listings? Anyone got a piece of property in front they want to talk about?
So I have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath townhome in Green Valley. It will be listed at $235, and it needs a little bit of updating. There is a tenant in place until end of July, but it still will be within the 60 days once it closes for any owner occupants. So just contact me if you guys are interested.
Very cool. You sure? No one wants to talk about the property in front. Jay's got one. He's got a quarter of an acre for 17 grand. You should just buy it. Hold on to it. Why not? Anyone else before I go on? Okay, perfect. We have a special guest today, and we're going to get to her right away because she's got an appointment right after this. But I have the honor and privilege of serving on the Las Vegas Board of Realtors with Trish Nash. And you all have the opportunity to work with her for some time. And she is running for Henderson City Council, and she has put in an amazing amount of time with the council and the chamber. And so we're going to give her a few minutes to tell us all about her campaign. Give her a round of applause.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Hi, this is a great office. This is amazing. I was not lost, but I was trying to figure out which building, and then I saw the big, how could you miss it? So I just have to say real quick that I go back way back with Signature back with Brandon, and I first started with Exit Realty. And I've known Brandon, oh, Monica, hi. And Monica goes, oh, can we tell you stories? But I won't. I'm not here to tell on anyone and myself. But, hi, good morning.
How are you?
Good.
Good seeing you.
Yes, thank you. So, how many in here probably where's the camera? There's a camera. Probably the Henderson folks are virtual. Anybody in here in Henderson? Okay, awesome. So what I'm going to do is maybe if we could just give the people, well,
just one from Henderson.
No, let's give it to everybody, because you know what? You all know people in Henderson. You all know people in Henderson. So I'll leave
some extra on the back.
I'm going to be really quick about this because we all know that how important voting is, and especially the business that we're in. And oftentimes people forget about how important it is locally, and they focus more on the national races. But let me tell you that the local leaders are going to be the ones that are going to carve out what's going to happen in the community, and that's what helps us retain our property values. That's why people move here. And Henderson has the lowest property taxes in all of Nevada. And we're at, this is good for you to know when you're dealing with clients, we're at 77 cents per $100 of assessed value. Las Vegas is $1.06, and North Las Vegas is $1.16. So there's a 30-cent gap there. And many people are drawn to Henderson because of the low taxes. We're also rated one of the second safest cities in the nation. Henderson is based on our population. So there's a lot of really good things that draw people to Henderson. And On the back here are some of my platforms. Education, now this is for everyone, this is all of Clark County. I mean, look at what's happening at CCSD. And we lose people who potentially want to move to Clark County because they're saying, well, obviously, education isn't a priority because you're 49 in the nation. And in Henderson, we can say, well, yeah, but we have some really top schools, I mean, so does certain schools in Las Vegas, Summerlin, and so on and so forth. But when you look at the whole thing, 49 in the nation, that's a travesty. So one of the things that I'd like to see us do is to have smaller school districts. Because right now we have a huge school district and it's unmanageable, obviously. And that's not a city council role, but I can have a voice. And I'd like to see potentially Henderson be separate, but really I think the answer is to have a lot of different school districts, several, because some of the other cities that are similar in size to ours might have 10, 15, 20 school districts, so it's more manageable, the parents can get more involved. Right now, parents, they feel like they don't have a voice, and they're overwhelmed. So that's one of the things. And then economic development, I mean, we're growing, our city's growing, everything's growing, Vegas is growing, Henderson's growing. But I think we have to take a really strong look and be very strategic in our development. And also water, that's a big thing right now, water. And people are deciding, some people are deciding not to even move here because they're freaked out. They're thinking, oh my gosh, are we going to have enough water? I just had a guy that sold his home. I mean, yes, I was able to list a home, but he sold his home because he's convinced that we're not going to have enough water here, so he's moving out of state. So we really want to take a strong look at that. Public safety is so critical right now. You know, there's a lot of calling in certain areas for defunding the police, and we just want to make sure that we have a very strong law enforcement in our community. Fiscal responsibility, that gets back to the taxes that we talked about. If we get the wrong person in to this position, we could potentially see taxes go up if they decide that we need to find funding for police, because we need more funding as we're growing. We need more police officers, we need more fire, there's a cost involved in that. Where do we get that money? I would like to propose that we can find those resources outside of raising taxes, maybe look to the developers that are coming in and they want to benefit from our beautiful community and in the development that they're bringing to us. They're going to have a financial benefit, but I think that maybe we could charge some type of an assessment or something, put it in some type of a pool for public safety. And then lastly, veterans. We have a very strong veteran community, and I just want to make sure that we have the resources for them. There's homeless issues, a lot of veterans. So I just want to ensure that we don't forget those and we have resources available for them. So do most of you vote in the primary?
Hell yes.
Awesome. So very important. And I didn't hear everybody say absolutely, but no pressure. So on the bottom here, it tells you the voting days. It starts on Saturday, early voting through June 10th. And then June 14th Tuesday, June 14th is the final election day. So I just want to encourage all of you to vote. And I'd like to encourage anybody that is in Henderson, please spread the word. I was endorsed by BoardPAC, and thank you, Bonda, for serving on BoardPAC. Anybody else on BoardPAC? Yes, thank you so much. It means the world to me. And we have a voice, we have a strong voice in the realtor community. And there's a lot of issues that come before us on a local level that could impact values of our homes. And there's going to, as I said earlier, there's going to be some decisions that municipalities are going to have to make regarding water, regarding development. Are we bringing the right development into our communities? Because what is their water usage? We have to look at that. I'm sure most of you know that in a residential home, the water is all recycled water. So that isn't the issue. People talk about the fact that, we're building, apartments or multifamily units, and that's going to take water. That's really not the case. All of the homes, the water is recycled. Where the issue is landscaping, And, we have that mandate that we're going to have to remove the unused grass by the end of 2026. So there's a lot of things that are being implemented, and those are the things as realtors we need to know when we're talking to people when they say, well, I want to move here, but what are you guys doing to conserve water? We're doing a lot to conserve water, and it's going to continue. So I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to be here, and please spread the word. There's 6 people running. It's a tight race. I did have a poll done. I am showing that I'm the front runner. But I take nothing for granted, so I'm out there just pounding the pavement, working hard, and asking everyone for your vote, and to please tell your friends that live in Henderson, tell your clients that live in Henderson, because every single vote is going to count. So thank you so much. I appreciate all of you.
Give Trish real quick. You've spent a lot of time as a market expert in Henderson. And so for all the realtors in the room that may not be voting in the race, tell us about Henderson and what you see happening in the real estate market in Henderson.
Ooh, okay. Well, we're seeing a lot of great things happen as far as new developments. I live in Lake Las Vegas, and my goodness, Lake Las Vegas is just like booming. So many new developments that are happening in Lake Las Vegas, and because I do attend city council meetings, I know about different developments before they're even announced, because they have to go through the approval process. So there's many new home developments that are in the works in Lake Las Vegas, single-story homes. So if you have somebody working in Lake Las Vegas, and we're starting to see, we all know this, we're starting to see a little shift in the market. In fact, in the paper today, front page, that slowdown in the real estate market, we knew that. They didn't have to tell us that. And then, of course, you probably all heard about the high rise in McDonald Ranch, the Pinnacle. And there's some people that they're not excited about that. I personally think it's going to be a great thing for the community. But one of the things, I just talked to a developer yesterday, and one of the things that he's proposing is that we start to see some development going up, more vertical. So I think that we may start to see that in the upcoming years. And so, assuming I'll be in city council, I'll have the opportunity to vote on that. But we need more housing, and we just don't have anywhere to go land-wise. So, and there. Oh, here's something very, very exciting. So, for those of you in Henderson, you're familiar with the Haas Automation. It's a company that's going to be here supposedly in 2023, but I just spoke with the CEO of the company the other day, and they're having a delay with construction, go figure, so it's probably not going to be till 2024. But there's going to be, probably 1,500 to 2,000 employees there. And where are they going to, and many of them are moving from California, from their plant in California. Where are they going to live? So there is actually a 800 unit, I believe it's 8-story high apartments that are going to be built, that's going to be right next to Haas. So, we need them, but they'll be very, very nice, very high end, and very close in West Henderson, over by where the Raiders facility is. So we're going to see that. Just a lot of continual growth, and as you know, what's the Dollar Loan Center. So Dollar Loan Center, many people were opposed to that, but I actually think it's helping the community, because I've actually started to see people who are moving here want to live close to that because they like the walkability of it. Water Street. Oh my gosh, if you haven't been to Water Street, just go to see all my vote for Trish Nash signs. I feel so blessed. All the businesses are like, yes, Trish, Trish, Trish. So there's banners, there's all kinds of stuff. But restaurants, Chinitas is a wonderful restaurant. Juan's Latin Fajitas. There's a Public Works coffee shop, Lifeguard Arena that has Mackenzie River in it, which is a restaurant. I mean, just a lot of cool stuff that you can visit. And there's some things in the works that I can't talk about But really cool stuff on Water Street. And then adjacent to Water Street, on the other side where St. Rose de Lima is, there's a whole vacant parcel there that my husband actually sold, Michael, and now they're going to be putting a Cane's and another restaurant, I can't remember the name of it, but everybody's just so excited because there's been a need in that area. And then homelessness, so that's an issue, guys. I mean, it's everywhere. But one of the things that the city of Henderson feels very strongly about is having zero tolerance. And so they reach out, they try to help them. There's many services that can be provided, but many of them don't want the services. I mean, that's the reality. So I just saw a police officer yesterday talking to a homeless person, and they have to have the zero tolerance because that will then, just cause them to not stay there and go somewhere else. But the city's working very strongly on that, so just know that they're not being complacent about it. Some people feel that the police are, but they're really trying to resolve that issue, but it's everywhere in Vegas. So I don't know, that was just general answers, but a lot of great stuff happening in Henderson. Population 325,000 and continuing to grow. But the west side of Henderson, over by Inspirata, just keep an eye on that. There's going to be so many amazing things happening in West Henderson. So if you have clients that are looking to buy over there, it's going to be, I mean, it already is very vibrant, but it's going to be even more exciting with some of the things that are going to be happening over there. So, and if ever you guys ever have a question on Henderson, not that I'm the expert, but I do know a lot about Henderson, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions or help in any way that I can, because I want to be there for all of you. So thank you.
Give her another round of applause. Who has a question? I'm sorry, we don't have any time, but nice to see you. Go ahead.
So I actually have two questions, because it deals with real estate, and you're in here, and I'm sure everybody has the same question, but are afraid to ask, so I'll do it. So two, one is on open house signs, right? I mean, that's been so frustrating for us as realtors to only be allowed to have one sign at a time. And I know that you, in Henderson.
Okay.
Henderson has that ordinance, you can only do one sign. And I know every single week, every month, it gets, they keep changing it up. So is there an opportunity for that to change? Have you looked into it? Have you considered it? Is that?
Well, I didn't realize, I mean, I knew that they had an ordinance, but I do know in my years of being in real estate there that most of the time they haven't been very strict about it. But now it sounds like are they creating an issue for you?
Yes.
Yes,
Signs
throw your
get-
signs away away. We've always been very strict about it, forever.
Well,
I
I
got
guess
some
I've
signs
been
for
lucky.
Put it in the
I've been lucky
dumpster.
because, I mean, the
Can we just use your signs?
No, we just did an open house and we had, I think it was 8 signs.
They wouldn't dare take your sign.
No, trust me. So maybe it depends on, Green Valley Ranch is gonna probably be a lot more strict. Lake Las Vegas, definitely strict. I mean, they took my signs away last weekend, so, yeah, but they called me, so that was nice. In fact, I actually just worked with South Shore, which is in Lake Las Vegas. They actually called me and they said, Trish, we're going to be updating our open house sign policy, and we'd like your advice. Because they were allowing no signs. So I was able to walk them through the process, and now that they are allowing a couple signs in front of the house, a directional sign, so on and so forth. So, I guess this is something that now, once I'm on city council, I'll be able to do something about, because as a realtor, I mean, it's important for our city, for our community, for people to be able to effectively see the home that we're trying to sell, because it's good for the community.
Especially with the market changing too,
Yes,
now, right?
because now we're going to have, I mean, before we didn't need open houses, now we're going to have a lot of, we're going to be working a lot harder now as a listing agent. So, so I'm going to put that on my radar now.
Awesome.
Now that you brought it up, because
Thank you.
I just I didn't realize that they were being so strict. I see a hand now.
Wait, I had two questions.
But wait.
Sorry. Second question was on short-term rentals. So I've recently seen a map of the short-term rentals in Henderson, and there's no room. We were just talking about it. And there's absolutely no room to put any more in there. But we have clients that are looking. I mean, we are, this is one of those cities that people come to for short-term rentals. So is there an opportunity to shorten the gap between short-term rentals or the process in which that you get approved for them? And I'm not telling you like you have to make a decision right now,
No.
right? But at least is that on your radar or can it be?
It can be, because that's an issue that other people have talked to me about. And, there's a lot of different opinions on it, because we're realtors, we definitely want to see that happen. But I've had people come to me saying, oh my gosh, because there's the whole perception of what a short-term rental is. But I think it's good for our community, and I think that, but with certain restrictions, of course, obviously with certain restrictions. So that is something that I have to put on my radar, because it affects all of us. So I don't have an answer for you right now. I know that there was a big hoopla about it a year ago, and there continues to be, but we'll definitely have to look at that, and and I'm happy to stay on that, and we can talk further about it as well, because I might need some little talking points from you.
You got it.
Okay.
She's really short on those, as you can tell. So Trish has to go off to another meeting. She
Well,
said
there
you
was
still have
one
time
more
for more
question,
questions.
although I think he.
Same question.
I think it was.
Oh, same question. Okay, yeah, I'm on it, I promise.
We have one right here.
Yeah.
What is the rationale for limiting the amount of signs for open houses? Well, why not?
For open
What's the
houses?
rationale?
For open houses.
Clutter on
Have one
streets.
sign.
Yeah, because of how it looks visually, aesthetically, and I quite frankly, I think that it's just been realtors that have abused it, have put them in the wrong places, have not been respectful, and so therefore people just got frustrated, the city got frustrated, and they just said, you know what, we have to do something about this. But I think that if there's certain guidelines, and we can just make sure that the agents follow those guidelines, well, we know, you are all here, you follow the rules, you're learning, you're professionals, but there's a lot of, people out there that they just do whatever, and then we pay the price for that. So, but I think one is ridiculous.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, well,
Thank
thanks,
you,
guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to ask Shelley to come up with Prosperity. She's got some information to share with us. Give it up for Shelley.
All right, Trish, you have my vote. I currently still live in Henderson, not Boulder City yet. By June. Okay, how are you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Fantastic. So I wanted to come with the HomeBot. How many of you have heard of HomeBot? Okay. How many of you are using HomeBot? Actively using HomeBot? Annie, why are you using it? Why do you like it?
So it actually is really nice for my clients because it sends them a monthly update on where their property is and about their neighborhood, and it actually prompts them to call me on some occasions. So it's like that, and I use it for myself too, so I know when they go out, so I can follow up with clients as well.
Yeah.
So it's actually been really helpful. Just having that guideline of where the market is, not only for properties, but for the mortgage end of it as well. And, letting them know how much equity they might have in their home.
And it's something that goes out every month, right?
Yeah.
You don't send it out, correct?
I don't.
Yeah, so one of the great, and how much do you pay for that? $25. So how many of you would like a marketing piece that gets sent out to all of your clients automatically every single month that gives them an idea as to where their current home price is worth, or where their current home is worth today, gives them some options as far as maybe using a 15-year mortgage, maybe pulling some cash out. It also could trigger you to let you know if there's an opportunity for them to sell. How many of you would like a tool for that? And this tool is $25 if you partner with a lender. So Myra, Gabby, myself, Jason, Tony, all utilize HomeBot. One of the great things, as Annie was mentioning, is this. So this is the tool that lets you, you can pull into this dashboard, lets you know who your homeowners are. You can upload directly into this. So I haven't actually uploaded into it this year, so I need to put all of my 2021s into the dashboard, which I'm behind, but even still, you can see that there's still activity happening. But what you can do is make it a process for yourself to upload your database. Very easy to do. You send them a CSV with the email, address, phone number, and HomeBot will actually do that for you. And you'll get this activity feed. You'll also get a weekly email that kind of tells you, hey, buyer A is looking at this, or homeowner A has just checked out this, homeowner A is looking at this zip code, homeowner A just clicked that they want to check to see what their equity position is, homeowner A wants the CMA, homeowner A wants, you guys getting my drift on that?
Yeah.
Stuff you don't have to actually prompt for. They're going to go and do this all on their own, at their convenience, and you get notification of it. Right? They'll tell you, Jennifer Brown looking at refi details, Amanda Johnson looking at the home market. Something that is new to HomeBot is this. It actually has now triggers specifically for refinancing. So if you partner with one of us, we'll actually send you the invite for the $25 sponsorship. It'll give notification to us if they click on the motivated to refinance, right? That's still, I know it's not something that you necessarily are going to participate in, but it is one way to give value add to your clients if they are interested in getting a refinance. Hopefully you'll send that over to one of your favorite Prosperity Lending loan officers. But the cool thing is this motivated to sell. So what it does is it will actually let you know based off of their activity inside of the bot. So in this particular case, you'll see here Samantha Courette is looking at the market, right? She's viewed it a few times in the last couple of 30 days, 4 days, and now it's triggering her that she's got selling signals. So once that actually prompts, because maybe she's prompted something for a CMA or she wants to get information as far as what markets look like, which is exactly what's happening, that is a trigger that is saying that this is an indicator that your client may actually be looking to sell their home. What would be the normal response of somebody who actually has this as a listing agent? What would you want to do at that point? Call them. Where else do you have this opportunity to know that your client is interested in selling? Do you have any other applications that you guys are using today other than just prospect calling? So can you see the value in this actual app? And you can put, it doesn't have to be homeowners that you're working with. You can put buyers, you can put your farm list inside of here. As long as you have an email, phone number, and address, it'll actually prompt that information.
Does it do out of state?
It does out of state as well. Yeah, it's not local to Las Vegas, it is across the country. So if you have licenses elsewhere or you're trying to farm inside here, wherever it may be, this will pull that information up. Or if you have buyers that are looking to maybe travel or move out to Florida or something like that, or elsewhere. The other thing that I really like about this is the detail, right? So you can see how many people are actually opening it, how many people are viewing it. You can also go in here and do specific to homeowners, buyers, you can go in here and do videos as well. So as we're we're talking about market shifting, kind of getting back into some normal activities. This has been a great tool for us as a lender. If you guys are interested in getting more information about this or even signing up, it's a super easy invite to you. Just reach out to Gabby, Myra, or myself, and we'll get you set up on this on HomeBot. Any questions at all for me?
Where are the rates at today?
Hey.
I have clients
They're up and down.
Yes.
every day.
What do you think? I'll give you a $10 if you hit it on the nail.
4.5.
Whoa. What do you think?
6 even.
Where are we at, Gabby? I just got back from vacation. 6? 6. 5.75 to 6 1/4, depending on where your credit score and everything is. How's it feel to you guys?
Low.
It's really low. Yeah?
Better than 7.
It is better than 7. If I told you that's what projections are headed, what would you say about 6% if you knew rates were going to head up to the 7%? Great. Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we're worried about 6% today. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you guys.
Wants the 2.5. Right.
Wait, I have it. Okay, so I'm going to ask our amazing brokers, Janet and Vonna, to come up and join me while they're coming up. I'm going to tell you something I saw on Facebook today that made me laugh. Someone said, the market is changing, and the context was, this too shall pass. Hopefully it won't pass like a kidney stone. You think that's funny now. I've been through a change in the market. It'll feel just like that. Okay, so I've got a number of questions that have come up from broker issues we've had, from our Facebook page, from random people that may or may not work here. And so I'm going to ask you guys to share with me and the group your answers on these. And so the first one is kind of interesting. Explain the difference in working a high-rise deal versus a regular single-family home. What's the difference?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Shelley was trying to tell me something.
She was doing it by sign language.
Sorry,
But
she wanted-
what's the difference between working a high-rise deal and a regular single-family home deal?
All right, so high-rises differ. Each high-rise has something unique about it, every single one of them, right? We recently had one at, for instance, Trump Towers. Now, if there's a tenant in place, they have a deposit that's been submitted, and that deposit from the seller, from the owner, sits in their accounts. You have to know that, right? You have to call the HOA. Are there any fees? Are there any funds that are sitting in those accounts that need to be transferred during the transaction? So what happened was there was $30,000 sitting in funds from the seller that were in the account that went back to the seller that didn't get transferred to the buyer when they should have. But because we didn't know that, right, now the buyer ended up getting screwed, right? So you need to be aware of things like that. High rises are different in the sense that you can only show them, move in at certain times. You can only do, there's going to be, for instance, a master plan, and if there's two towers, there's going to be one tower is going to have its own set of rules, another tower could have its own set of rules. It's not always going to be the same. I'm trying to think what else. God, there's so many things on high rises. You just need to call the HOA to find out what the difference is. What it is that they're going to require from a potential seller. Are they going to be able, some of them don't even allow pets, right? If you've got an owner that wants to move in, that has a big animal, or 3 or 4, or they want to rent the property out, they're not going to allow more than, sometimes they don't even allow tenants to bring pets in. They only let the owners have pets. And if they do allow pets and they're a certain breed or a certain size, so it is very unique in that sense. When you talk about rental restrictions, there's quite a few of those in high rises as well.
So my advice, if you're going to do them, number one, they're a great product to sell because there's a lot of them in one place and they make it a little bit easier to comp. The only problem is when you're comping high rises, it matters how high it is, right? So if I have the same unit on the 35th floor versus the same unit on the 18th floor, there could be a massive difference in the price of that unit, plus what side of the tower it's on. Anyone here ever stayed at Trump Tower? Okay, so do you know there's a good side and a bad side? I'm not talking about fair housing. I'm talking about the fact when they built the building, there was a dispute between the owner of Trump, we all know who that is, and the railroad commissioner, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, every train that passes by Trump Tower blows its horn for 30 minutes. And then you get back to sleep, and at 5 a.m. it happens again. And if you're on that side of the tower. And so I went downstairs and I said to the manager, hey, I was up at 3, he said, you're on the horn side. You don't want to be on the horn side. And so things like that you find out. I've always thought of high rises like mini cities because you're learning about what's going on in that area. You're learning what's happening in the tower. And so like Anna said, make friends with the people at the front desk. They will tell you everything you ever wanted to know about the tower, how to get into it. But what I really like about high rises, if you work one special unit or building, it's the easiest farm you can ever work. I had a gal that worked Palm Tower, and she was their concierge at one point, like maybe 10 years ago. So she knew a lot of people in the building, and she worked it just like a farm. She's probably sold 20 different units in the building. And I don't know any place where you can kind of see everyone come through one place. And if you're lucky, like Turnberry has a club, all of those people are in that club on a regular basis, so you're able to really work a cool marketplace. The other thing that's cool about high rises, I think, you got to be really careful when you do inspections and repairs because some of the buildings are completely maintained by the building. And I've seen actual agents go out and hire a repair person to come in and make repairs on a unit where the building would have paid for it. Do you think the client's pretty happy about that? No, and so you can actually get into a reasonable skill and care issue because you should know what you should have known.
And some of them have very specific vendors that you have to utilize in order to make those repairs, and so you need to know. Sometimes they have a special list, sometimes they require you to submit your potential vendor. They have to have sometimes $1 million policy, which is absolutely ridiculous. So that, and when you're showing a high rise, there's gonna be different restrictions for each one, right? For instance, when I sold one at Turnberry, I had to have a lockbox at the property so that they could, provide access. Now, I sold so many units at Turnberry Towers that I just gave the key to the concierge and they had a master key and they could open it if I called and told them. Now, not all of them are like that, right? There's, for instance, over at Sky, it's completely different. You have to have your ID. Sometimes you even have to have your ID from the Nevada Real Estate Division, your actual license card, right? They won't let you in. They won't sometimes let you in if you don't have your business cards, if you don't have the MLS deeds. Find out what those restrictions are, because the last thing you want to do is show up without any one of those things and your client's sitting there looking at you like you have no idea what you're doing.
That's funny. Okay, so the next one, this is a funny question. I kid you not, this came up. Do car magnets work?
Car magnets?
Yeah, the things you stick to your car.
Yeah, so if you speed sometimes, they know exactly where it's called until you stop doing it.
So everything works sometimes, but I remember years ago, I hadn't been an agent very long, and I was driving through the drive-through line, and it was a long line, and somebody knocked on my passenger window, which really scared me. And I'm like, yes. And he said, "Are you a realtor?" And I said, "Yes," because I had magnets on my car. And he said, "I'm new in town, give me your card, I'll call you in 2 hours." And he did. Did he ever buy from me? No. But he did call me, and that's the one and only time, because usually when I had car magnets, I'd come home and one would be gone. And then I buy some more, and then I come home and one's gone.
So I actually believe, I kid you not, you won't see them on my truck. I've never had them as a staple of my business, but I've multiple times have seen a vendor, like a handyman or a painter, somebody like that, and the only reason I utilized them was because I saw their car magnet that they had on their car. And the coolest thing I've ever seen is there was a painter who had, the beat up painter truck. On the back of his truck, he had the whole thing full of little magnet business cards. Because everyone would come up and say, "Hey, can I get your info?" He said, "Sure, take it off my truck." Right? You would go over and take one of the magnets. It was like the coolest thing I've ever done, right? And I've used that guy in my business for years because of that magnet. Here's what I want to say. What Janet said and what Vonda said is the scary part about having a magnet on your car. You cut someone off or you do something wrong, it demeans the entire industry of every realtor that's out there. So you got to be really, really careful when you publicize that. You want to make sure that you're following your realtor code of ethics.
Well, I just want to say that I had car magnets in a different time, a different age, and I think now if you're a female and you have a car magnet with your picture on it, I wouldn't do that.
I think a wrap is a better idea. If you were going to really do it, wrap your car. Have you seen those? The window wraps and stuff. They don't fall off, they're not crooked, they look really good. You have your license number and information on it. And I mean, there's no way the IRS can say you're not trying to write off this car because it has your picture on it, right? So.
I would only say that, similar to what Janet said, everything works sometimes, but you can't depend on your car magnet to be your only type of advertisement, right? So if you have a car magnet, you can't be like, "All right, I did it today," right? I mean, it's kind of like wearing your name badge. Just because you have a name badge or a shirt that says I'm a realtor, it doesn't mean that people know or are going to use you for real estate, right? You still have to be able to go up and talk to people about what's happening in the marketplace. You still have to, you still have to make the effort to have conversations with people about real estate. So just having a car magnet could be one way to start a conversation, but it's not the way to get a client.
I would say that name badges work better than car magnets, and wearing your name badge upside down is the best conversation. I kid you not, right? Because people just think that you're just that slow. But the whole point is everyone points to you and says, "Hey, your badge is upside down." "Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm a realtor. I don't want that upside down." And I have a friend who has 17 name badges. One for every outfit that she wears, I kid you not. And she wears it every day upside down so people will point. She sold multiple homes from the car wash, the grocery store. It works, it really works. I would go buy some right now.
When your home is upside down and your name badge is upside down, you can use it as an opportunity to be like, "Well, I'm looking for people whose homes are upside down right now so that I can help them." I figured it'd be easier for them to look at me this way because home's also that.
Okay, those are all conversation starters. Okay, so as brokers, please explain why brokers cannot sign blank documents.
Oh, good Lord. For so many reasons. I mean, I think we've gone over this a multitude of times. When you have, for instance, a listing agreement, I won't sign them unless it's actually, the seller has signed them first, then the agent has signed them, then it's the broker's turn, right? We don't want to ever sign something and then allow the seller or the buyer an opportunity to make any changes to that document without us ever reviewing it again. Because once you've given, let's say you're talking to a buyer and say, my broker, because you can use us as the bad guys, my broker is requiring that I have this document signed. Now, if it's already signed by me, then they can say, well, it's already signed by your broker, we can make these changes and your broker will approve it because it's already signed, right? We don't want that. We will never sign, and don't ask us to, any blank documents. It should always be signed by the client first, then you, then us.
The other thing is, if you send, a lot of people have tried to be helpful to make it easier for brokers to sign things, so they'll send just the initial page on a listing and the last page. I physically can't sign something I haven't reviewed, right? Because the other problem is, if I were to sit in front of the real estate division and be defending this listing file, when they go to pull the timestamp and the signature certification page, it's going to show only 2 pages. And I'm going to look at another real estate commissioner that's going to look at me and say, you only signed 2 pages in this entire signature, that's all you reviewed. I need to be able to go back and prove that I looked at the entire contract so I can know that that happened. It's not about looking at what you got as a commission or what you co-opt or what the price was. That's not the point. It's about having a complete document that I as a broker will have to defend. And so make sure that you're sending all of those. This goes into the next one. For a commission order. In the process of a sale, as the real estate professional, how should I handle the commission order? When is the right time for me to send it to you for signature? And what should I be looking at as the agent on the commission order, besides the commission?
So I know this is a big pet peeve for Todd, right? If you send commission orders on the same file 3 times, like you've sent it at the beginning, then there's been a change to the price, and you sent it again, and then you're at the end, and you sent it again because there's a difference. So I always say that the commission order should be at the one of the last-ish things that you do within the last week. So once you determine what the price is going to be on the property, once you have everything, whether you're going to be crediting the buyer, crediting the seller, trying to make some adjustments, blah, 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 all of those things, that's when you send it to us, right? So everything's finalized. The other thing is that you should be initialing, so those of you who have transaction coordinators, do not depend, this is your file, by the way. The transaction coordinator is not in charge, you are, okay? So if you're submitting a commission instructions and it's coming from the transaction coordinator, you should also be reviewing those when they come into, like they come to you and the TC, right? We've recently had an issue where an agent reviewed the commission order, didn't really look at it, didn't pay attention to it, TC sent off the commission order to be signed by the broker signed it, nobody else said anything, it was on the settlement statement, and then that agent got shorted about 0.5% because they didn't review the commission order and they didn't review the settlement statement. Guess what, you guys, that's your fault. It's not the TC's fault, it's not the broker's fault, it's your fault. So I've been meaning to have a conversation with Amy about it as well, and with your TCs, you should be talking to them. You should be initialing where the commissions are so that we can verify that you're okay with it, right? Because without reviewing the file entirely or knowing what happened throughout the process, it's hard for us to say, yeah, there's 0.5% that's going to be credited to the buyer, for instance. You know that, it's your file. So you have to take responsibility of it and go ahead and initial those commission orders before you send them to us, and then we will go ahead and sign them.
So to your same point, I noticed, in our marketplace, there's no standardized commission, right? And that's the thing that we want to make sure everyone understands. You don't ever say that, oh, the standard is this. The only person I see putting a standard out there is escrow when they open up one of your files, because they take a certain commission amount and they split it up between the 2 parties because it's just a non-licensee processing escrow instructions and they haven't seen it yet. So for them, it's a placeholder. But it's really funny how, to your point, a placeholder becomes the commission when no one says anything. And the other thing that I see, and I get Todd and Tom and Keith and Brandon's frustration, is there's a lot of things that happen between the day that the escrow opens and they send out the escrow instructions to the day before you close when you're signing your docs. And so I'm seeing on files 5, 6, 7 commission orders getting signed. And so that means you 7 times sent it for signature, and that means my broker 7 times are signing them. And if you take that times 4,000 transactions, that's 28,000 signatures. I did that right in my head, right? Wow, okay. That's why they pay me the big bucks, folks. Go ahead, Janet. What were you going to say?
Well, the other thing too is what we don't appreciate, Bonnie is right, we shouldn't have to sign the same thing 5 times because you've made changes as the file moved along. But the other thing is I get commission instructions, excuse me, sent to me all the time where it says, please sign this immediately, we're closing today.
In and out.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm not in front of my computer within the next hour. Do not send them at the last minute if you're counting on that check to be issued the next day, because it may not happen through no fault of the brokers. They have it like, you sent me one this morning at 9 o'clock. Yeah, well, I haven't seen it yet. So keep that in mind.
So, gonna change gears. Who here has ever represented a property that really isn't in Southern Nevada? You know, not in your drivable area. Have you ever had that property in Mesquite or, you know, Laughlin or Beatty, Nevada, Dyer, Nevada? So does anyone here do that as a staple of their business where you go that far outside of your market area? Anyone? Tyson? Tyson's raising his hand.
I go to another state.
You go to another. So as long as you have a Nevada real estate license, it's completely acceptable in some ways for you to represent a client anywhere in the state of Nevada. But here's the problem. You have a reasonable skill and care guideline that says that you will understand the marketplace in which you're in and the guidelines in that market. And what I find out is that, of course, Mesquite and Pahrump and Laughlin, those are actually all in our Las Vegas Realtors Association. It's all part of our market area in Southern Nevada, and even into Ely and some of the other places. But can you adequately say that you understand the market well enough to well represent your client? And so the hard part is, you know, in some local cities, certain things aren't done. Certain things aren't done the same way as is common practice with everyone else. So I want to offer you a second option. We have put together a referral program here at Signature where we will find agents in other market areas, and they will pay you a very nice 25% referral fee, and they will monitor the deal all the way through closing. What would you rather have at the end of the day? A 25% referral check or a pissed off client? I know some of you will say pissed off client, it's okay, don't do that. But I'm going to say that, you know, when you look at the cost of doing business and good business so that that client returns to you over and over again, don't stress yourself out going too far out of your market area. I'm going to tell you, I would look at taking a land listing in a remote area because I'm upfront with the seller that this is going to be my travel time, this is my expectation. What do you think? I've been doing it for 20 years almost. But I see agents sometimes take these listings and they're working a buyer in Mesquite, and do you think the buyer's going to buy the first time out? How many homes are you writing offers on? How many homes are you showing? Hundreds. And so that means you're driving 90 minutes at $5.50 a gallon back and forth. Sooner or later, the buyer or you will get tired of it. So I just want to put that out there that please be mindful of working within your license to make sure that you're doing the right things. Any questions on the referral group, how it works, how you place, any of that?
Just a quick question. I had taken a listing in Reno because my office belonged to that MLS.
Yep.
We don't belong to any other MLSs, do we? Signature?
So, it's interesting you would say that. So we have referral partners and we're expanding in certain areas, so maybe, but the point is, could I find an agent to list a home in the MLS in Reno? Yes, I could. And I could make an agreement with that agent to do that. It would take us writing a contract that says it, so that it gets that local market representation. That's the right way to do it. But you know I could actually list that property in our MLS?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Did you know that? Like, you can list a property anywhere in this MLS, even though it's not in our market area. But the problem is, who's going to see it, right?
I tried to do a referral, but the client wouldn't have it.
I hear you.
He was my client, he wanted me to list it, so.
So in that instance, I've worked with other agents in other market areas to partner on a deal. Sandy Valley being one of them, because part of the property was in California and part of the property was here. I can't list something in California. I can list the Nevada side, but who wants half the property, right? So I had to find a California agent. We partnered together and marketed the property. Do you have your hand up?
Spent 4 days.
Yeah, no, okay, just making sure.
So here's the other issue with that. I've had agents call me, go, my cousin wants to buy a house in Incline Village. I'm like, okay, do you belong to Incline Village MLS? You can certainly sell in Nevada. Do you know most of those homes are not on lockbox? How are you gonna know what's even on the market? Most of them don't even have signs in their yard. How are you gonna know what's for sale? Well, the price of the house would make it worth all the inconvenience. But here's the thing, even if you're dealing with Reno, they have a different MLS than we do. They use a different lockbox system than we do. They use different forms than we do.
Coming soon.
Why put yourself through that heartache and that stress? Just refer it. We all, everybody, a lot of us, all your managers know agents very well in Reno, not to mention our referral service. But just give it to somebody that we know and trust and get your referral fee. And not worry about driving. Are you going to drive 8 hours to Reno every time you need to do something? Oh, we need the home inspection. I have to drive to Reno and stay overnight in a hotel. Yeah, no, come on, use some common sense.
$49 each way on Southwest if you look at them. Okay, there's a couple of other things that have come out just as general information, and please jump in on any of them. Number one was make sure that you're Googling your name and your name as a realtor. There's been a lot of fraud out there in the marketplace. We're seeing again where people are taking your active listings, they're putting a listing on the market for rent that is not your listing, and they're trying to rent out your vacant property. So you need to make sure that number one, that you're checking these things out. You should be Googling your property addresses to make sure that they're not popping up on other sites or things are weird out there. If you do see them, please report them. You should also be going by your vacant properties with protection. We just had an agent in our office, Lizette and Jay, went to a property to show it. There were squatters in the property. They broke a window leaving. Jay and Lizette took proper precaution. They were very careful going into the property. When they heard noises, they turned around and left. The police showed up. I mean, this person was bleeding all over the window that they broke because they broke it so bad, and they had wrecked the inside of this house, and going through that process is a nightmare. So please, make sure that you're being safe, make sure you're taking proper precautions, but also make sure that your sellers and you are checking on your vacant homes, because when it gets hot outside, what do people do? They look for properties that have ACs and power on so that they can go and sit in those properties. I was showing a fourplex that I had for sale. I opened the door during the home inspection. There were 40 people in a one-bedroom fourplex. They were more shocked to see me than I was shocked to see them, okay? And we boarded up this fourplex, and they broke through the wall to get into this property because it had air on inside of it, right? So you've got to be very careful, and you've got to be very mindful of that. Anything you want to add to that? No? Okay. This came up the other day where agents were looking for previous floor plans on a property. Where would you get floor plans on a property? Say again?
County record.
County record. So if I'm a builder and I'm building a property, I have to go and record my floor plan just like we do on buildings to get permits. And so they have a copy of those. The city of Henderson for years, for $10, on any property that was developed, would provide you with a disc of the floor plan. You guys remember what discs were? They were the, but they would, floppy disks, and they would provide you with that so that you could use it for your client or the transfer of the property. Cities, any municipality usually will record an archive of property blueprints. Last but not least is the actual developer. Somebody built the home, and if they're still in business, you can usually reach out to them, which wouldn't be hard to communicate with the developer and get those floor plans and the blueprints. What was the thing that Larry Murphy had years ago?
Sales tract.
Sales tract, yes.
Floor plans all the way back to the 70s and maybe beyond that.
They had shag green carpet in those. That was funnier than you guys laughed at. I'm really excited about that one.
If you're a listing agent, you can also do a virtual 360 tour, and then they'll build you a floor plan as well, like a 3D virtual.
Yeah, I have an app on my phone for $39. I bought it once, and it will map out an entire property and give me a floor plan. The only problem with that is, who's liable for that floor plan? You. I don't want to be liable for floor plans, but it was good for me internally to have one to look at.
Sorry, regarding the squatters,
Yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned this, but doesn't Metro have like a squatter hotline, so if we have any issues, we can call?
So it's not 411, it's 311. 311. 311? 311?
There's like forms and stuff and
Yeah.
transaction desks that we used to have years ago.
Next week.
So they have an entire department dedicated just to dealing with squatters in the property. And it's not the emergency line. It's you call 311 and you give them the property address and you say this was going on. Just to recap what had happened, I really love the steps they took, because the first thing that they did after they got out was they called not only the police, but they called the listing agent to let them know what was happening in their property. The listing agent then showed up so that they could handle the situation with them as a witness to what actually occurred. And so, but the other thing that's really important, what they did, is they got the hell out of the house. Don't be the hero, right? You don't need to go and find out who they are, or where they're at, or what they're doing here, or if they're qualified to buy. I know how you guys think, right? Just get out of the home and be safe, right? Yeah. Okay, so the last point I have on here has to do with FSBOs. So as the market's changing, and as people thought it was so easy because there's so much equity and the prices have gone up so high, and there's all these people from California, I'll just sell the house myself, right? And so we're seeing that there are still FSBOs in the marketplace. And so I got the question the other day, if the property's not on the MLS, how do I find the info for this owner? Because I want to reach out to them. So anyone have any ideas? Okay, so I love this one, call title. Title companies do archive information. Do you remember when the tax record used to have phone numbers in the tax record?
So I'm going to tell you, there's actually if you can get set up on, it's called Ivy Data, IVY Data. You can text the address and it'll give you the name of the owner, their phone numbers, any phone numbers that have ever been affiliated with that address, as well as any addresses, email addresses that are affiliated with that particular owner as well. But you have to get set up through the title company for that, and then it's just the phone number. You can just text in the address and boom, everything's available.
Be mindful, they
Pretty
will tell
awesome.
you about do not call lists on there too, but it's a huge point. I mean, every number you've ever had is archived out there somewhere. It's not that hard to get. Google would be next, right? I would literally Google the property. Then I would go into like Realist or RPR, because they actually carry data information sheets on all of the properties that we have out there. Remind, the actual Remind, not the transaction side, was built for that purpose. It actually archives info about owners and properties and mortgage info on what they probably owe and things like that. The other thing is knock on the door, right? So don't be afraid to get in your car and knock on a door and say, hey, I have a buyer that's living in this neighborhood. I realize that you're a for sale by owner. I'm not here to list their home, and I really do have a buyer. They're in my car right now. And it doesn't mean that you have to list the property to sell the property. Does everyone understand that? So if I have a buyer that wants to buy and I have a seller that wants to sell, I can go directly to contract to close. The only question is, who's going to pay me? Is it going to be my buyer who's getting this great deal, or is it going to be the seller who's getting no hassle? And maybe it's both, but if you represent both, you must have paperwork for both. What paperwork do I mean?
All your listing paperwork, all the buyer's paperwork.
Correct, so you have to have all of your disclosures, all of your licensing disclosures, your duties owed, your consent to act. You just don't have to have a listing agreement if you're not going to list the property and you're just going straight to contract. But again, you'll need a commission agreement, right? And I would highly recommend, if that happens, get with a broker so that they can walk you through how to do it. And it doesn't mean you have to take a discount either, right? It's just, it's a cool way to do business for sure. Anything else?
Yeah, I have something else. Okay, I just want to push one more time this certification class, which is going to be Monday, June 13th. I believe it's 8:30 to 4. At Home with Diversity. It's 6 hours of ethics. It is $100, but if you're going to get a certification from NAR, you have to pay for that certification. And not only that, the last I heard, there were only is NAR, I'm backtrack, not only NAR, but NBR is also pushing that. There were only 6 people signed up. So, if you're going to do the C2EX, if you have the At Home with Diversity certification, it'll cut out some of the modules that you have to take. So the flyer is heading in right outside that wall. Go take a picture of it and register.
So a couple of office updates. As you notice, we have the computer stations and the countertops. I haven't heard from a lot of you in a while, so I'm kind of depressed on that. That's all done. We're going to have the conference room finished probably today with the table and chairs for the secondary conference room. We're still waiting on back order for our glass doors, and so those should be here in 2 weeks. I have a floor plan up front here at the Spanish Ridge office for the Northwest office. So if you want to take a look at it and see what it looks like, it's already sitting up there. I'm going to start taking reservations this month for offices. So if you're here or you're at home and you want an office in the Northwest, I'm ready to now do that and start reserving your space. That office completion date, no kidding, is August. So it's coming fast, nothing like moving in the hottest part of the year, right? That's already there. If you haven't checked out Sun City, please do. Bobby's there every day. There's a working bullpen there if you need to use the computer stations. It's all set up. I just have like 3 photos I gotta hang on the wall still. And then downtown. We have offices available in the downtown office. I will tell you the coolest thing in that office, they have a basement. You don't see basements very often in Las Vegas on purpose, all right? This basement would make a perfect office for a larger group or team. And so if you know of anyone or you yourself are thinking of doing that, I mean, it's Vegas retro. It would be a showplace for anybody. So keep that in mind.
And are you done? Are you guys done? Are you guys done? Okay, last thing. Shelly and I are doing an event on June 9 called the Amplified Event, and it's theamplifiedevent.com is where you can find the information for it. It is literally our way of getting your mind right for the rest of the year, right? Our market's changing. Are you ready for it? It's a mindset, it's a daily practice type of, and then how to build your empire, right? Your empire, your client's empires, how to get in the right mindset to do all of that. So theamplifiedevent.com is where you can get the information for it. We are starting to take registrations now, and it is all-day event, June 9th, includes food.
Cool. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Have a great week.